There's a fair amount of ways you could try to make money in today's society. You could pursue science, music, acting, maybe even become the proud franchise owner of your local McDonald's. Justin Andrew Wilkie had another idea. Justin grew up in a family of loggers. His grandfather and stepfather both being in the business, he was running a chainsaw from a very young age. It was a family experience for Justin, and having grown up in the woods, he had a special attachment to them. But fast forward to the dark future that was 2018, and Justin Wilkie is no longer just a kid with a chainsaw. He led a team consisting of him and two men into the Olympic National Forest in Washington. The mission? Big leaf maple. The result? 8 big leaf maples cut down and illegally trafficked, a chance encounter with some bees, and a fire that lasted 4 months, burning over 3,000 acres of forest and costing $4.2 million to contain. So, how in the world did they even catch these guys? They obviously didn't fess up to the crime themselves. I mean, the entire forest was burning for 4 months. So, how did they know? How did they find out that these three people cut down these specific trees in this specific span of time? And how is that linked to the fire that occurred? Not to mention, all the evidence was practically burned down for months. After the fire died down, the investigation led them to the source. And the source of the fire was right next to a recently poached big maple. Mm-hmm. Investigators spoke to local mills, and they found out that Mr. Wilkie had recently forged documents to sell them lumber of big leaf maple. So he was promptly taken in, and the case had begun. But there was one issue. How did they know that this big leaf maple was cut down by Wilkie himself? How did they know that the big leaf maple sold to these mills matched the stump? This is where Dr. Rich Crone and Laura Hawk come in. They worked for the Forest Service's Pacific Northwest Research Station and developed forensic DNA analysis protocols that were successfully used in court for the first time in a federal case. This DNA analysis was so precise that there was only a 1 in undecillion chance that the DNA from the poached tree didn't match the stump. Not only that, but in addition, through these methods, the geographic source of a piece of wood could be pinpointed with a 60-mile radius of accuracy. This led to Wilkie forfeiting all of his profits and serving a 20-month sentence. Side note, how did the fire start, you may ask? Well, Wilkie and his crew stumbled upon a beehive that they wanted gone. After normal bug spray didn't do the trick, what do you think they'd try next? If you guessed dousing it in gasoline and lighting it on fire, you'd be right. Wilkie's crew admitted that they were all there when the fire started, but apparently did not actually see Wilkie light the match. The jury must have been feeling kind that day because he was not found guilty for the fire. Here are a couple of clips of Justin Wilkie himself, after his release, speaking about the incident.
Regardless what anybody says here, right? Who is anybody to tell me that I can't go cut a tree down out in our woods? You know, that's our land. That's not the government's land, right? Is it? I mean, do you think George Washington would have said, "Oh, prosecute him"? You know, I don't think so. You know, our founding fathers gave this land to us. You know, what I mean, that's the national forest is public land, right? Not government land. You know, I just don't. You do think back in the the early 19 do you think President Lincoln would have even cared if I cut a tree down up there? I mean, or anybody would have cared, right? Do you think anybody would have cared back in them days if I cut a tree down? No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't even like. You're gonna prosecute this guy for cutting a tree, you know? Those are our trees, really. You know what I mean? They are. You know what I mean? Yeah, I probably shouldn't have took it, but it, that's our land, right? You should be able to go up there and if you need something, you should be able to take what you need. I mean, not like, you know, rape the forest, but I'm just saying, like, if you need something, you should be able to provide for yourself, provide something. I don't know. I just think that these guys are being way overrated about the woods. You know what I mean?
Overrated? Deforestation is a huge crisis today, and illegal logging contributes to anywhere from 500 million to $1 billion of lost revenue, which affects everyone. This kind of mindset highlights just how important this forensic evidence can be. The DNA analysis was arguably the most important factor in getting some sense of justice for what occurred. So, why was this the first time it had ever been successfully used in a federal case? Simply put, there doesn't seem to be much push for forensic botany to be standardized as evidence for things such as illegal logging or smuggling of plants. There are many, many different methods proposed for diagnostic timber identification, including wood anatomy, machine vision, dendrochronology, mass spectrometry, near infrared spectroscopy, stable isotopes, radiocarbon, DNA barcoding, phylogeography, and DNA fingerprinting. In addition to these, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service uses DART TOFMs, or direct analysis in real time, time of flight mass spectrometry, in order to rapidly identify sites listed species. Using DNA markers is also a promising technique for botanical analysis, specifically a combination of ITS, MATK, and turn H PISBA. How is this done? Well, first, a small amount of the plant material is homogenized, or essentially blended up and dissolved, in order to extract its DNA. Then, PCR, polymerase chain reaction, is performed with primer sequences of the specific markers, which is what determines what sequence of DNA will get duplicated. These markers will duplicate DNA differently amongst different species of plants, which allows for differentiation and therefore analysis of what the plant is. This is actually similar to the method that Krohn and Hock developed. Hock figured out a way to isolate and homogenize DNA from living or dead wood and tissue. This DNA was then replicated through PCR with markers that were highly specific to the trees, even within the same species. Overall, forensic botany is a powerful tool, and if we hone in on it, it could be used for not only murder cases, but cases like these. My name is Garrett Housley, and thank you for watching.